So there's 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your
Impeccable.
word. Don't make any assumptions. Always do your best, and don't take anything personal. And so, like, I read that in a book. I don't know.
Yo. What it do, man? We are back with another episode of the Real Understands Everything podcast, or as y'all call it, True Talk. And today, I got a special friend, a special guest, Richard Pratt. He is one of Dallas's most notorious real estate agents. By the way of Christie's Real Estate Lone Star, you know what I'm saying? So
Yes,
if you're looking for a house, hey, this is the guy. You know what I mean?
Sure.
This guy, he's originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, moved down to Dallas, Texas, a couple years ago. I don't want to say, I was going to say about 2 years, but nah, he's been here for a while.
About 5 years, yeah. About 5 years.
About 5 years. He's lived all over the place, man. He's, again, come from to Dallas. He's lived in L.A. He lived in New York. Pretty much all the major cities that you can think of, especially with real estate. And this is a good one because now, you know, we always hear people talk about it's not the right time to buy a house. The housing market, especially for us being young men, you know, looking to get a house at some point. You know what I'm saying? What better knowledge than somebody that's living it every single day? So again, y'all give it up for Richard Pratt.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
We gotta tell Rich.
Gotta see the fit check. Okay.
Yeah, we got to see the fit, bro.
Okay. Gotta see the fit. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we can.
There we go.
All right, so we got the custom fitted double-breasted suit. It's like a linen silk blend. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
You got the. Can you see them?
Oh, yes, sir.
And then
There you go. Okay, there
it
you
just
go.
got some white jewelry on the wrist, and you can see it.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
I can
Yes,
see
sir.
you now.
Got the
Yeah.
Botex.
See now.
Hey, man.
There's some white on the wrist. You know.
As
You
they
can't
call
listen,
Rich
you
Rich, he
can't
be
dapper.
dressing.
You can't dapper.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, I try to add, like, one of my things is, like, I try to elevate, like, just like my style and let people know about, like, different brands and fashion and trends and
Yeah.
restaurants. I feel like that is part of, like, who I am. Like that is ultimately, like, me, you know.
It's a
just
selling
introduce
point for
people
you
to,
too. Cause
you
you
know,
find a
different.
commonality. You find a commonality in
For
certain
sure.
people you work with. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. You know, like, a lot of my job is to try to find commonality between me and my clients and what we like. And it's like, you know, you can ask somebody so many questions and, like, yeah, keep it, you know, they're keeping it 1 to 2 answers. And then you hit on that one subject and they're like, you can tell, like, right away, like, energy switch. They're like,
Right.
okay, yeah, we found a commonality that we really can talk about besides, you know, houses or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So, like, that's part of my job that I really love. It's just, like, trying to figure out what that is. And I try
For
to
sure.
incorporate my style. And it either, I think everybody respects it, but it speaks to certain people as well. So,
Right. I think, you know, when it comes to, because I'm another guy that's into fashion heavily. Both of these guys also, they're into fashion. They both own clothing brands.
hell yeah.
But for me, you know, I'm a bigger guy, so you know, I'm still on that treadmill trying to get it down because you know some of the best clothes don't get made in my size. Just saying, but you
For
know,
sure.
to piggyback off of what you guys was just saying about clothes kind of being like a selling point, I want to take it back further with you getting into fashion long before you got into, you know, the phase of being in real estate. Who are some of your, you know what I'm saying? Because I've seen people that may not know, I've seen some posts, I've seen some stuff, you know, stylish, you know, if people are familiar with A$AP Rocky, man, Rich kind of gives me that A$AP Rocky fashion vibes. Who are some of your, like, you know, inspirations when it comes to, like, the pieces and things that you select?
For sure. So I've actually met A$AP, like, a few times, like when I lived in New York.
That's a flex.
Subtle flex. Okay.
On camera, you know, I might not say some of the things that, you know, I took in with A$AP, but you know, him being a rapper, you could probably imagine.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Some of what those activities may or may not be.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, A$AP is certainly a style. I mean, what he can pull off and what he's been able to pull off,
Mhm.
feel like those like the subtle things that he does, like I see those trends like moving forward with a lot of people and celebrities and
Mhm.
style. I mean,
Mhm.
he's an icon for sure.
Right.
I mean, he's the face of Bottega. What
It's
you know,
crazy.
what other brand? But like I was definitely heavily influenced by Pharrell Williams, who
Okay.
Oh, for sure,
also,
solid one.
and like serendipitously,
Mhm.
I've like hung out with Pharrell a few times, and he is
Mhm.
just like the nicest, like softest, most humble person.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I actually like randomly when I was in college, somehow I was front row, and he ended
Mhm.
up like being like, "Yo, come up on stage with me." I was like, "Okay, sure." Like this guy's the
I
man.
mean, given your height, I'm pretty sure you were easily the spot like, "Hey,
Hey,
Yeah,
hey.
come
right.
on, let's go."
For sure, for sure. So definitely Pharrell. I mean, I'd be lying to everybody if I didn't say Yay. I mean,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yay back in the day, like
Was
Right.
different.
who
Yeah,
was
he was
bigger?
different.
You know what I
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
mean?
True.
different.
Yeah, I was definitely a Kanye fanatic.
I saw, when I was living in New York, I lived in New York from 2012 to 2016.
Mhm.
And that's when like the Yeezys were like that was like the shoe,
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think it was what, the 750.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a, I
Red
had a friend
Octobers.
of mine, yeah. So I had a
Mhm.
friend of mine that, worked at Vogue, and I would
Wow.
bug her every single day. I'd be like, "Yo, they drop off some Yeezys yet?" I'm
Right.
like,
I feel that.
you said that Yeezy or you said that Ye, like, comes by the office and, like,
Mhm.
brings in all this stuff." I was like, "Those come in yet?" And
Mhm.
finally, one day after, like, 8 months, after, like, they'd been out forever, she was like, "I got them for you." I was like, "Okay, let's
Man.
go."
Hey, she's a real one for sure.
I have pictures of those too on my phone.
You
Nah, I
you
feel that.
mentioned Ye. I feel like he's a definitely inspirational guy, given that I just loved
Mhm.
how he just came up with, like, the Yeezy brand, which I feel like soon turned to the inspiration to, like, the Essentials brand because,
Yeah.
I mean, being an athletic guy and being a bigger guy playing the line, both me and Eli, we like that type of stuff, like, with the, I guess, the vintage look and the hoodies and stuff and that type of style, and I
Mhm.
think the oversized look with essentials that it brings to the like community as far as like fashion. I love stuff like that. So in the streetwear industry, like Ye just was a different. Now he may be outspoken when it comes to little things, but his
Yeah,
fashion is definitely iconic, and especially with the shoes.
for sure. I heard
He was
something.
ahead of his time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ye was like his whole aesthetic
Hmm.
was just different than what anybody was doing at that time. So like
Hmm.
I heard some comedians say like, I don't follow Kanye on Twitter, but I do follow him on Spotify, and he's a much different person.
This is
Right.
very true.
Yeah. That's why I tell people, like, that's like his music, like, some hate it's a couple artists out here, hate them or love them, but
Hmm.
their music will forever live on because a classic is a classic, you
For
know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah,
But
and
with Kanye,
and it
it's just go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say is like to like kind of bring that into like real estate too. Like I look at selling a house like putting out a record. Like
Hmm.
you're only as good as your last hit, right? And so
Right.
it's like I put this same effort and energy into like pricing,
Hmm.
staging, video, marketing,
Mhm.
events, brokers opens because you really like to be successful in this industry, like, you have
Mhm.
to put that energy into every single project, and
Hmm.
to do it on a consistent basis is
Right.
is very difficult,
Hmm.
and it takes a lot of, like, energy, and so, like, I kind of always look at every house that I sell, I list, like, that's a project, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
that project, and to do it on a consistent basis like Ye did it,
Yeah.
has done it albums and over and over again. It
Mhm.
takes a lot of energy behind the scenes and people behind the scenes, and, you really only get one shot at putting a house on the market, just like you only
Right.
get one shot at dropping an album.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, if
So I
you want
wanted to
and if
ask
that
you
house don't sell, it's over. Like, you don't eat.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of agents out there. I mean, I think there's 30,000 agents, if not more, in
Yeah.
DFW. And so it's like I'm a type of person where it's like if something's not selling, I'm behind the scenes like making calls,
Right.
either
Yeah.
yeah, like editing photos, changing photos, like calling, doing reverse prospecting behind the scenes, like I'm not just dropping things, you know what I mean? Like, and then
Right.
there is a lot of that too. Like, I don't just like put up pictures and hope for the best. You know what I mean? Like, there's a
Right.
lot of things that you guys don't see behind the scenes that real estate agents do.
So
I
that takes me to go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say from what you said, I kind of dissected that in a way, and I hate to put you in a box, but
Yeah.
like it's almost like you have that Mamba mentality mindset to where
Mhm,
you say you looking at every specific house that you're selling, whether it be like
mhm,
the multi-million-dollar houses or even like the lower like $100,000 houses. You look at it every little detail to basically give your all to basically sell to the consumer. And like you said, with all the different real estate agents in the game, they're trying to also sell this house to their prospective clients and whatnot. So, like, is that safe to say that, like, you have that mindset that you have to do every little thing, do every little detail to basically be the best so you can be the best for your consumer so you can sell their house
For sure.
in a sense?
Yeah. I mean, to take it a step further, a lot of the homes that I've sold, it's like going and it's honestly, it's not that glamorous, but it's like you're going early,
Mm-hmm.
dress fly
Got to.
always dress fly, but like,
sound like John.
at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm sweeping,
Mm-hmm.
like making sure things look nice. I'm moving things around so that like, because you really,
Mhm,
if you have a buy, like a buyer, a potential buyer, like you only get one shot. Like you only get
right.
one first impression, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if there's like, if the house is dusty, there's like, like dog beds and hair all over the furniture
Mm-hmm.
stuff, it's like that's not going to give that buyer that elevated price per square foot experience. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think that's another thing that I think about where I'm like, if we're going to how do we want to present this particular property?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm,
Do we want to show it like do we want to list it like it's been lived in and there's a few things wrong, or do we wanna sell it at a higher price point or we're presenting it, freshly painted,
mhm,
staged, highly photographed, it, basically at that high level, like, if you wanna get that, you
Mm-hmm.
present it a certain way, and you have
right.
to and you well, like you said, like, you only get one shot for that, so, yeah, in a lot of regard, I think in terms of
Mm-hmm.
Kobe was always behind the scenes practicing and
Facts.
getting in
For
his
sure.
Facts.
being a
That's why I made that analogy.
My favorite. Hey,
yeah,
look, that Kobe my favorite player, so
yeah,
that
Mamba
Mamba mentality.
mentality. I mean, Kobe, I think, was a bit of a killer,
For sure.
but, but, like, that's and I think Jordan was the same way, but it's like, I do think that you have to kind of understand, like, I always just look at things about, like, how do I make this the most pleasant, welcoming, and
Mhm,
also, like, teach people about the architecture and, like, when I did the listing on Wellborn, that was a famous Dallas architect, was a famous celebrity-driven
mhm,
interior designer, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
people don't talk about that stuff, like, people are just gonna be like, you know, "It's another apartment," you know what I mean? So it's like teaching
right.
people about what they're walking into, I think is another important aspect to my business that I love as well.
So, with that being said, something I was thinking about,
Yeah,
like you touched on a couple points about, obviously being in the fashion and allowing that to also run over into what you're doing currently in life. And, the saying dress to impress goes a long way, especially when you're in real estate.
for
And
sure.
then hearing that your attention to detail is kind of like an athlete almost, because to be a successful athlete, you have to have attention to detail, and those little things is what's going to take you over the edge. So with you, like you said, you go in the house and you make sure that like everything's prepared accordingly. I wanted to ask you, what is your why behind why you do what you do, like that love that you got to like helping people and wanting to be like one of the best. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of like you're still striving to be the best. It's competitive in a way, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I wanted to know, like, what is your why that keeps Rich going and wanting to do things the way that you do?
Yeah. You know, I think being tall, it's gonna sound
Mm.
weird, but, like, I think, like, being yeah,
I'm like, he going so
you you do I feel like I have some sort of responsibility to,
Mhm,
like, people look up to me, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
right.
Like, physically.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Mhm,
like, I have this I don't know if I put this in the notes or whatever, but, like, God made me tall because people want to look up to me, you know what I mean? And so it's
For
like,
right.
sure.
I think part of my why is, I was blessed to be in a great position,
Mhm,
and I know a lot of people that I grew up with and who have the same sort of privilege that I did.
mhm,
And if I'm being real, probably myself as a younger guy, I wanna be able to leave a legacy for my future kids and, really inspire people to be it's like the
right.
Don Miguel Ruiz thing, right? Like, the 4,
Mhm.
I think it's what, the 4, principles?
Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with them? With the Don Miguel Ruiz quote?
Imma be honest, I am not familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not either.
I'm gonna
I've
drop
heard it.
some, but basically, it's the 4 agreements,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and one of the agreements is, do your best. Where are my notes? I'm not being my best at sharing my notes.
Oh man.
Um, okay, wait,
No,
here we
you
go,
could
here we go, here we go. Okay, so there's 4 agreements. Be
Mhm,
impeccable with your
Impeccable.
word,
Mhm.
mhm,
don't make any assumptions,
Mhm.
always do your best, and don't take anything personal. And so, like, I read that in a book, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago,
Mhm.
mhm,
and, yeah, so, to, kinda reiterate that, um,
mhm,
I try to strive to be the best because, I wanna leave a legacy,
mhm,
and I like helping people,
Mhm.
and I think that real estate is one of those things where I think people in general, at least for me, I feel like real estate agents can be a little bit like hard around the edges, like be very kind of like analytical, very like to the point where I want to give people a different experience than that. I want to be people's friend, people's advisor, and really kind of like change that perspective of like real estate agents being kind of like jerks because I feel like,
mhm,
there are a lot of different people in my industry, uh,
mhm.
and a lot of the top ones tend to kind of, I think, like, brush people off a little bit. I don't know if y'all have
Yeah.
had,
Yeah, I
experiences.
mean, I think it's
Oh, for
more
sure.
for me, I kinda interpret it as, like, sometimes they can kinda forget where they started or forget where they come from,
For
Mhm.
sure,
and it's like I see it from a double-edged sword, though, because from a sales standpoint, you want serious buyers, you know what I'm saying, if that makes sense,
for sure.
and then on the other side of that coin, it's like you still got a morality type of thing, your characteristics, like how you are as a person, you know what I'm saying, how you deal with people, so I think, when I look at it, it's just like, sometimes some people, like you say in your industry, some people can kinda forget where they started from, where they came
For sure.
from, and it just rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah, and I mean, I think probably, in y'all's industry too, it's like
Mhm,
you get to a certain point where, like, you don't have I think where you run out of time for people that aren't serious.
Mhm.
right,
Like, for me, and especially, like, entering into the Dallas market, like, I've had a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and I think
Mhm.
always try to remind myself, like, everything is temporary. Everything is
yeah,
temporary.
For sure.
absolutely.
It's like the highs are not gonna last, and the lows are not
Mhm.
gonna last. A good day is 24 hours, and a bad day is 24 hours. But
This is
Let me
very
ask you
true.
this, you say you had some highs and some lows, so in terms
yeah,
of, like, on the housing market,
sure.
then this could stem from, like, when you first started out
Mhm.
Yeah,
or up to date.
yeah,
What would you consider, like, your worst I don't know if to say experience or your one of your lowest moments that you've had in this industry?
yeah. I mean, man, it's a really tough industry because, like, I'm trying to think of, like, the lowest. I mean, probably the lowest low was not too long ago. In the same week, I was working on a $2.5 million listing in Frisco. And I was basically like helping kind of an acquaintance of mine who's was married into the people that basically were the sellers, right? So like
Right.
it was his father-in-law
Mhm.
Mhm.
who was a tough guy. He had
Mhm.
been successful. He had done pretty well for himself. He had owned the house outright. And I was basically, I was advising them on like where to go. And, you have people that build or buy these houses in, kind of the early 2000s, and everything's dark.
Mhm.
The cabinetry is dark, the wood
Mhm.
floors are dark. You know, the house just kind of has that dated sort of like feeling to it.
Mhm.
Right.
It goes back to what we were talking about previously. It's like if you want to ask a certain number, you have to come correct.
Mhm.
Right.
And, you know, I had been going back and forth with this guy, and I was like, you know what? Let me just get a painter out there. Like, let's
Mhm.
just have my guy come out there. He'll give you an estimate, and, you'll essentially be able to, figure out whether or not you want to paint the place,
Mhm.
or, you'll be able to get his professional recommendation, right? That cost me the listing. He
Wow.
basically my painter shows up, the
Mhm.
seller starts berating him, like, off the get-go, and, the guy was basically like, "If this were Rich's listing and, you wanted to sell this for what you wanna get for it,"
Mhm.
Mhm.
which, by the way, he bought it in 2020 for a very low price, and he wanted to basically sell it as is without having done any touch-ups, any updates, any staging for
Mhm.
almost $1.5 million, more than he bought it for.
Right.
So, like, so long story short, I basically had the painter out there. He was berating the painter the entire time. It was just
Mhm.
like this whole thing, and I basically never heard from the guy again. So I lost the listing, and then that same week, I was working on another listing,
Mhm.
and I lost another $8 million listing. So in 1 week, I lost basically $10.5 million in listings.
Oh,
I'm
glory.
that hurts me, and those are like
Man.
steep numbers,
I ain't gonna
Yeah,
what
lie, I would be a little upset to get ghosted though. I'm like, you could at least tell me, "Hey, we're just gonna go with someone else," but to not say anything, I'm like, "Man."
yeah,
I
and this is the other crazy part. Like, I'm like, I check stats and see if things have gone on the
Mhm.
market and check like, different listings for my clients all the time.
Mhm.
And so I kept checking that address. I was like, let's see if it's gone on the market, see if it's gone on the market.
Mhm.
This guy ended up listing it with a prosper agent who really hasn't sold anything in Frisco. I don't know if he like worked out a deal where, he took a low percentage or something to get the listing or whatever it is, which as much as it pains me, there are agents that do that all the time,
Mhm.
which they'll take like a 1% or half a percent, whatever it is, like just to get the listing because they just, it's good marketing. And listen, at the end of the day, half a percentage of 2.5 million is good money, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Whew.
it's great money.
Right.
And so,
Mhm.
um, yeah, he ended up listing it. It was on the market for 60 days. They put it
Mhm.
on hold and basically painted the entire house, dated the entire house, and then relisted it for the same price. It was on the market, I think, like 2 weeks, and it sold.
Oh
So I'm
my
like, "You
days.
did everything that I told you should
Right.
do. You just did
Right.
it with another agent."
I was
Yeah,
about to
that's
say
pissed.
before you even got into the detail of that, like Eli said, we both wanted to get into, real estate, but we do
Mhm.
know that like what things look like dated and whatnot, that you should update it. I actually used to have a little stint when I worked at Home Depot, so I'm a little familiar with like they want to have updated wall colors, like the light colors, something that's like
Mhm.
inviting.
Yeah.
So if you have
Yep.
hard, dark oak, if I hope I'm saying that right. You
Yeah,
want to transition it to a lighter floor, something that's more
sure.
inviting, that basically makes it more vibrant. The placement of the house is always important. Like, where's the sunlight coming in? How can we
Right.
stage it to make it look good? So I get the angle in
Yeah,
which you were trying to come at without disrespecting whomever this client was, but the fact that they basically did that and did everything you said they should have done with somebody else is crazy. But It is what it is. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah, and then the other house that I didn't get, it didn't sell. So it's like,
Man,
wow.
it's one of those things where it's like, you kind of in the back of your head say to
Hmm.
yourself, like, "It's not meant to be, keep it cordial, maybe they'll come back to you," and realistically, it's so much easier to be the second agent versus the
yeah,
first, because the first agent already did either a poor job of setting expectations,
Hmm.
or the seller just came to a realization that, maybe they were wrong,
Yeah.
right,
so they switch agents, and then it's like, "Okay, let me show you how to properly do it." So,
Right.
it's a crazy business though, man. It's like, I'm competing against, especially in a certain echelon, it's like, who
Hmm.
your competitors are. It's like, you can go, I have buyers that are working with other people, and they're like, straight up, they're like, "If you can find me what I want, I'm happy to work with you.
right,
Otherwise, good luck," and that's a lot of the business too. I mean, it's like, if you're not out there hustling, making
Hmm.
mhm,
phone calls, talking to other agents, talking to people in the neighborhood, farming,
mhm,
all that stuff, it's like somebody is. You
right,
Right.
know what I mean? And, I think, like, it's that, like, paradox of, like, one agent is going to be super busy, they're not gonna have time, like we
Hmm.
just like ball players, right? It's like,
Hmm.
once you reach a certain level of fame and
Hmm.
success and all that stuff, like, you lose time to do all the other stuff.
right,
But for me, I'm on my way up, right? So it's like,
Hmm.
I have time
Right.
right now, I have time to do all that stuff, to hustle, to,
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
make it happen.
For sure.
right,
And so I think, like, I owe it to myself to, like, give it my all.
for sure.
And the ones I don't get, it's like, it's a lesson. If you ask me, would I bring a painter into a guy's house that may or may not, like, be
Probably no.
a little protective? Definitely learned a lesson with that. Like, I wanna make
Right.
sure whose house I'm bringing that into, So it's like, and then, with the other house, like, it is a very particular house, and, like, I
Mhm,
look at the way that, like, I kind of, like, built that relationship, and it was very, I would say it was, like, very sort of, like, friendly, and, like,
Hmm.
right,
like, he was, like, more of, like, my friend
mhm,
than he was my client, and maybe I overshared a little bit, and so, like, you always kinda have to keep that. I think once you work with somebody, you can kinda let your guard down, but you really have to sorta keep that professional, advisory kind of role about you, no matter, what the relationship is, no matter how cordial you are, or think, it's that you
mhm,
say one thing that's, a little bit on the border, and, like, you can get written off by people easily. So, yeah, that's another aspect where it's like, I learned a lesson with that particular seller being like, keep it 100% professional, keep things at the coffee shop, that sort of things.
For sure.
You're not gonna experience something by just, like, sitting on the sidelines, you know what I mean? Like,
mhm,
you learn things in action, in experience, like, through going through it, you know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah. Experience is the best teacher.
yeah, for sure.
I
Absolutely.
got a I got a quick questions. With
Yeah.
this specific instance where you basically tried to help a friend and you felt like, don't do that out there. Listen, I'm trying to my wordplay was all messed up. I'm trying here. But was there a specific instance, like, other than that, was there a specific instance where, like, other than that time that you said you were helping a friend, that you basically realized that you were doing too much and it was like a learning lesson to where it's like, I should not be doing this much, other than that specific instance?
Um,
To basically get like a client or whatnot.
You good, man.
so where I was, like, doing too much, I think there's a lot of times where it's like, I'm overly committed to doing something, and, like,
Mhm.
Mhm,
they're not that serious. You know what I mean? Where,
yeah,
like, and that's the thing, like, you can kind of overexert your
Mhm.
energy and how much time and effort you're putting into one client, and then they
Mhm.
just be like, "Nah, I think we're gonna wait till next spring." You know?
That would make me really
I'd
mad,
be
I'm not
mad
gonna
too.
lie.
I'd be
It
livid.
Mhm.
ha dude, it happens to me all, like, Pretty not all the time, but, like, it's happened, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like or yeah, like, you're showing people houses and they're like, "Yeah, I looked at the stock market today, and unfortunately, like, I can be making more money in stock than I can, buying a house right now.
Mm.
Like, it's gonna be 6 months." And I'm like,
Right.
"Okay," you know?
Man.
Oh,
Dude, it is an insane industry. I think, like, I mean, builders and home flippers and all the people that are in the real estate industry, it's unlike anything else. It really is.
Mhm.
yeah. I was gonna say there's a lot of moving parts that go into it that nobody really kinda talks about, which is, something I wanted to ask you, but before I ask you that, I wanted to dial it back a second and ask you, like, did you get your start and get to the point of where you at now?
Yeah. So, hard work and dedication and a lot of open houses. A lot.
Mhm. I mean,
I think I,
Seriously,
like,
man.
won some award my first year. I think I did, like, 150 open houses in 1 year or something crazy. I
Now
did
could you
2 open
uh,
houses every single weekend.
sorry to interrupt, but for the people that's listening, could you explain what an open house is for those that don't know?
Yeah. Yeah, so an open house is essentially when you list a property, it's where potential buyers, neighbors,
Mhm,
whoever can
Mhm.
come and view and tour the house. So a lot of
mm,
buyers, specifically buyers today, like a lot of buyers will just go to open houses in and around their neighborhood to
Mhm.
mhm,
figure out what it is that they wanna buy. And ultimately, that's where you can meet a lot of unrepresented buyers and ultimately, if you're good, you can meet the neighbors and
Mhm.
sell neighbors' property and people on the street, and that's another way to really sort of build your business. So people coming in that are in or around the neighborhood, visiting, whatever it may
mhm.
be, that's a really good way to kind of grow your pipeline. And, actually, my 2nd sale ever
Mhm.
came from an investor who I've sold 5 or 6 houses to that was unrepresented. The house had been on the market, I wanna say, something like 200 plus days, and he came in, he's like, "I'm gonna write you an all cash offer, badass, we're gonna close in 10 days," and he did.
Oh, he
He
Oh,
meant
wow.
literally
business.
we closed that house, there was I think it was like $650,000.
Cash
And
money.
yeah,
Mhm.
it was like 11 days. It was like the best it was one of
You
the
know
best
that
clients.
you
He
know
is
that that
still today one of the best clients ever.
you know that little money machine sound? We go ching.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Soon
yeah,
that's
Mhm.
exactly what I would've been hearing the minute
Mhm.
he put pen to paper.
yeah. That was my 2nd sale.
Mhm.
I think that was my 2nd sale ever, and I sold
Wow,
him, yeah, I think I sold him like 4 or 5 houses since.
that's good,
Wow.
man. That just tells the testament of who you are as a person, and just being a overall genuine person and knowing how to talk to people.
Yeah,
I think that goes a long way as well.
for sure.
So,
And I
I
think
know you
caring, listening to what people have to say too.
exactly, and that's one of the that's one of the 5 that's one of the no, the 4 rules. Hey, can't care about what people think.
For sure.
I
As
think
hard as it is,
that's something me and Mike talk about a lot often, off air. It's just kinda sometimes we allow opinions of others to hold us back from our purpose.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Hey, y'all hear that quote?
For sure.
But,
Yeah, for sure,
but on a serious level though, but, I think, with you having those lows and speaking on that, I kinda wanna transition into like you were getting into it earlier, the moving parts in when it comes to, like, buying a house and all the entities, like, you have the brokers, you got the people that's I like to call them the in between the middleman. You have the
yeah,
Right.
middlemans, you have the people that just fix up a house. So for you, where are you in that I'm trying to phrase how to ask it the right way, like, in between all of that, like, at what point does it gets to the realtor and, like I think how I'm trying to ask it, like, in the process of getting a new house,
yeah.
or just a house from the ground up, does a realtor be the first person that come in contact, or is it usually, like, the middleman, like the broker and all that good stuff first?
Are you before you answer this, are you basically asking, like, are you talking with the developer to these
Yes.
houses that are being built?
Yes.
And then, like, how does it go apart that like, how do you go about that process? I think that's what he was trying to ask because
Yeah.
Yeah, see, 2 heads better than 1, you know what I'm saying? Thank you.
You all good. I got you.
So, yeah, I would say that so there's like a few different parts of the business, and I think new development is kind of a beast in itself. Like
Mhm.
buying land, developing land, getting permits, like getting financing, loans,
Mhm.
all of that stuff. Like, that's a whole another industry. And I think, I mean, I've done a little bit of that. I just put in contract my first like real piece of land
Mhm.
for, it was like 2.5.
Mhm.
Knock on wood. Hope that
Light day. Hey, you
Just a
gonna
little
get
light day.
it.
it's light day, light day. So yeah, I'm like, wait, can you guys give me 2 seconds? Hold on.
Yeah, I got you.
You all good.
Boom.
See,
Mute, mute.
My bad. I had you
around
muted, my
like
bad.
around like 8. No, 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 we're good. We're good. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
All right. He's not gonna leave her office. Oh, she's gonna like get a few things done. It's gonna take her 20 minutes to get there, so it's fine.
Got you.
And I wait for her all the time, her whole life. It's fine.
My bad.
You just cut that part out, by the way.
I got you.
So yeah, most of what I do is like in the resale.
Mm.
So it's usually after somebody has lived in it, usually like if they want to move or if they want to sell their house, that's usually where I come in. And
Okay.
so there's really two pieces. You either represent the buyer looking for a new home, or
Mhm.
you represent the seller trying to sell their current home. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah.
Right.
And then we're all under some sort of brokerage. And a brokerage, I mean, I'm trying to find like the best way to
Do
put.
y'all have a personal brokerage, or are y'all always working with different brokerages, or do y'all have like that favorite that this is always your go-to?
So to practice real estate, you have to be with a brokerage. And a
Mm,
brokerage is essentially responsible for the agents conducting business.
mm,
So they are ultimately the ones that are responsible. They have the insurance, they have E&O insurance, errors and omissions, which basically covers them
They're the ultimate
for.
middleman.
Yeah. So so
Mhm.
so ultimately, real estate agents are kind of the middleman,
mhm,
Oh, okay.
and we get paid through our brokerage. But you can be so the term broker is kind of a falsity, right?
mhm,
Mhm.
Broker is essentially meaning that you have a brokerage license. Majority of agents don't have that license. And
Mhm.
that takes, I think it's like you have to have conducted a certain amount of transactions. You have to take another part of the test. Um, but most agents are U9 contractors of a brokerage. And so the brokerage pays us a split off of whatever we make. So like a good agent will get paid 90% of whatever they make.
mhm,
They'll make 90% of 3%. Say it's $1 million. Okay. So agent gets paid 30%. So 90% of that goes to the agent, but that doesn't include taxes or any of that other stuff. So like then you have to subtract taxes after that. And then, yeah, and then you get paid. So you can be, but then like that's if you're just a sales agent. But then if you're a broker, you can technically own your own brokerage,
mhm,
Right.
but then you have to pay for all the administration, compliance, a lot of that other stuff, which ends up probably costing you more than your split. You know what I mean?
right.
Mhm.
So it's probably more than 10%. So that's why a lot of agents aren't really interested in being brokers because knock on wood again, but like there's litigation in real estate all the time.
Mhm.
Somebody buys a house, they don't feel properly represented. They told something incorrect.
Mhm.
They bought a house that had leaks, all sorts of stuff. And it's like we can only do so much on our end
Right.
to ensure the house is perfect. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's only so much that we can do. So it's like to be a sales agent for a brokerage, yes, you are a middleman, but ultimately you don't have to worry about a lot of like the E&O insurance and, you know, compliance issues and lawyers,
Mhm.
all that stuff. Like that's why you're under that umbrella. And that's why you're
Yeah.
paying that split.
It makes
So,
sense.
with
Yes.
knowing all of those things, I wanted to ask you. So first, let me ask you this: Are you a homeowner yourself?
Yes.
How different was the home buying process for you being in that field?
So um I know that it's more stressful
Mhm.
when it's your process for sure, but it gives you a little bit
Interesting.
of the behind the scenes of, like, it's an emotional transaction. Like, I like to say that, I'm 10% financial advisor, 10% real estate advisor, and 80% therapist.
No, for
You know,
real.
because like, a lot of it is, it's where you live, it's where you eat, it's where you make memories, it's
Right,
where, you know, you might build a family, like, it's a home is somebody's sacred place, you know what I mean? So it's like somebody else said this, they're like, "Homes don't bleed." They don't, right? Like, nobody's gonna
right,
die. Nobody's
Right.
gonna die if you don't get that house, but you talk to some buyers, they're pretty upset if they lose out on a house, you know what I mean? It might feel like a death to them.
yeah,
Right.
It's like it is a very it's a personal and it's like you were talking about, like, it's a lot of people's largest financial asset that they own.
Mhm.
right. I
And
know,
so that comes with stress and, you know, you really have to kind of understand, like, put yourself in those people's shoes and, you know, if they have questions, by all means, like, fire them at me, you know what I mean? Like, I'm here.
yeah.
I'm
I
here to
see
walk you.
for me, because 'cause I've had a background as a car salesman before, and
Mhm.
so I've always found myself, like, when it's time to go shop for cars, and you go and look, and you talk to a salesman, and a part of me is like, I put the hat on, like, "Man, this is just a guy or a woman trying to make a sale, trying to feed their fam."
Yeah.
But on
Mhm.
the other end of that, it's like, "Hey, now, don't BS me. I'm
Right.
experienced." It's like,
Yeah.
I know what you're trying to do here, so let's come up with a fair price, a fair ordeal where we can all, we can all walk away happy.
Yeah.
So that's what made me ask you that, because I know sometimes, and even with football, like with me and Mike playing football, like there's been times where, whether we're trying to train a kid or we're working out with a new coach, it's like,
Yeah.
we kinda we've seen the highest levels, so it's like we kinda know what to do. We know what to
Mhm.
expect. If you get out there telling us, "Man, hey, I've been training people for 15 years," it only take me about 5 minutes to realize you ain't been training nobody. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, that's what made me ask
Yeah.
you that, because I know sometimes when you're in a profession and you go and have to be behind the scenes for once, sometimes it's a little difficult for certain people, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I like to just the way that I approach life is like I'm a forever student, you know?
Mhm.
Mhm,
I'm always learning. I try to always like be learning, asking
mhm.
questions, finding out new things. Shit, somebody sent me a deed yesterday from 1940. I'm like going over this language. It's like it's like a different language. Like it's insane. I'm
Got
like,
you reading Latin.
yeah, like, within, like, certain
Yeah.
amount of yards and, like, just has, like, the craziest language, it's like, I'll tell you all day long, like, you know, that's the first deed I've looked at from 1940, you know? And it's like, you always have to be at least, like, my approach is, like, I'm always learning, trying to get better,
Mhm,
studying people that are doing it better, like, you know, and then I use like my friends and relationships as guidance
mhm,
for when I'm not sure about something, you know? But I think like just being a student of the game is so important and trying to just I'm sure like you guys, like just get in the reps, like do the work, run the comps, like, you know, I think one of the things that sets me apart from a lot of people is like if you have conversations with people that I can tell that you're full of crap real quick if you don't
mhm,
know certain data points, right? And
Mhm.
it's I've been going and previewing houses for my clients for the past 5 years. Like, I've been going in these houses. I've been going through these neighborhoods. I see the what developers are putting out what product and who is making good things and not so good things. I see what agents are producing. I see what agents are selling where.
In
And
other words, you in the field.
yeah, it's like you just have to be
Mhm,
learning all the time. Who, you know, also like who are the good vendors? Who are the good
right,
photographers? Who are the
Mhm.
good videographers? Who's your roof guy? Who's your handyman? Like all those things. Like those are what make you great.
right,
That ultimately is what sets me apart from other people. Is like, I not only care about my clients, I care about the outcome. I write
Mhm.
handwritten notes to people. I listen to what they like, but I go above and beyond. Like, I can't stand when I hear somebody say, like, we don't need to do that. And I'm like, yet it
Right.
hasn't become this yet,
No, seriously.
but it
We
will.
we run into that all the time when it comes to, like, our outside meetings, with running a podcast business, because again, business is business, and so we always find ourselves trying to think outside the box, and it's like, we don't wanna put ourselves in a box where it's like, "Oh, we ain't doing it yet," because that "yet" word is like, we may be the first ones doing it. Like, there's something that we're
Yeah,
doing currently on our platform that if you look around, major platform or just starting out, we're the only ones that's doing it, and
yeah,
eventually other people gonna catch the wave.
for sure.
So, yeah, I definitely understand that because I'm that type of person. I hate to be like, even my everyday life, like my 9 to 5 that I work currently, like, you don't have to do that. Like, I run into so many people, that's not in our job description. But see, people are gonna remember how you treated them.
For
You
sure.
know what I'm saying? Shannon Sharp said this quote that we love to quote. And I have to quote him. He says, "Be careful of the toes that you step on because it may be attached to the leg of the ass that you may have to kiss one day." And that goes so far because, it may not be in your job description, but when you're helpful with somebody, they never forget that.
Yeah,
Whether you made a sale with them or not, like it could be 5 years down the road. And I was reading something that you sent in to us prior to the interview. There was a lady that you said that, a couple years ago, you ran into her, how you treated her, full circle moment, you were able to sell her her first home, you know what I mean? And that goes into a testament of what you was just talking about.
yeah. And a lot of it is consistency and
Mhm,
persistency behind the scenes. Like, literally 2 weeks after I got back from Kauai, I
mhm.
brought her over. A lot of people probably would have gone over there with a $20 bottle of wine, said, "You know what? Like, who knows where this is gonna go?" Whatever
Mhm.
maybe. I went over there with a $150 bottle of wine, and it took me 3 years to get the listing. Like, bro, but, like, it's that type of thing where it's like,
Yeah.
it's like it didn't matter. Like, it didn't matter if
Mhm.
she was that if somebody did that to me, I would automatically be like, "That is the nicest thing." Like,
Right,
thank you for that. Even if I'm not gonna sell my house with you, like, that's just a genuinely nice thing. I went over and, like, we enjoyed a nice glass of wine and, like,
mhm.
kept in contact, and, I think it's just that consistency and that persistency where she's like, "If you can bring somebody, I'm always willing to sell my house for X dollar." And eventually I had a conversation where she's like, "I'm ready to go. I'm ready. When do you
Oh,
wanna
wow.
come see the house?"
I'm ready to go right now. That's what she said.
Yeah. And, I think it's also, like, the consistency and the persistency behind
Mhm,
the scenes, like, the world hears that. The
Mhm.
world sees that, like, whether or not it's easily and quickly reciprocated. It's like people just start, like, responding back to you differently when you're
Mhm.
contacting them on a consistent basis, and,
right.
like, you have new information, new potential buyers, you're throwing comps at them. I think it's like that's one thing that I've learned is that you're always adding some sort of value, and always that human touch too, like, call somebody up. Like, people don't call people anymore, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that.
But, like, I'll pick up a f you can get so much done just picking up a phone, having a conversation with somebody, um, and, uh, and just that, just talking to them, having a real life conversation of, like, what's going on, like, that a lot of people are parents, they're running to and from their kids' soccer games or whatever it is, and, like, they don't have time to get deep with you via text, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, people
Mhm.
things. I don't
I
miss
understand
text,
that.
by the way. I wanna put that on the record. I am so that's the other thing too is I'm a man of my word, like,
Mhm,
98% of the time, I do exactly what I say I'm gonna do, and I
mhm.
think there's not enough people in this world. There's a lot of shit talkers, and, like, I think that that's got me far in life where it's like,
Right.
if I say I'm gonna do something, like I told you, you hit me up, like, what was it, last week or whatever,
Mm,
maybe a time or 2 ago, you're kind of like, "Yeah, like, do you have time?" And I said, "No." But then, like, last week, you're like, "Yeah, let's do it." I'm like, "Time, baby, let's go."
All right, let's get it.
And, I think there needs to be more of that, like, self
Right.
accountability of, like, people just do what you say you're gonna do. If you say you're gonna make a call, make the call. If you say you're
Mhm.
gonna put somebody in touch with your handyman, put them in touch with the handyman.
For
Like,
sure.
We
it's that stuff, like that touch that people remember
Mhm.
and ultimately set you apart from others.
It's funny you say that because our last episode, we just talked about, like, support your friends was pretty much the basis, and
Yeah,
that was
Mhm.
going into that, like, if we say you're gonna do something, do it, you know what I'm saying? Keep your
for
word.
sure.
'Cause I'd
Support
rather
your
the person
friends,
tell me
man.
yeah, I'd rather the person tell me, "Hey, I'm a" like, for the podcast, for instance, "Hey, I do wanna come on, right now is a busy time for me." I
Yeah,
can work with that. Don't
for
say, "Hey,
sure.
Imma
For
come
sure.
on," and then I reach out again and say, "Hey, like, let's sit down, let's try to schedule out." 'Cause again, with you, we try to schedule it, you say, "Hey, next week will work perfect." Boom, let's set it up, we'll put it in the calendar, and we go from there, but other people, it's either they don't respond, now all of a
Mhm.
sudden and it's just like,
I hate people
"Come on,
wasting
man."
time.
Yes. That is man, that's I've learned
Time
that
is
about
the most
myself. That's a
precious
pet peeve.
asset we will never get back.
No, for
Right.
sure.
For sure.
And it's also who you spending your time with, man. It's like
Mhm.
Mhm.
when I was like in my 20s, like I have a lot of relationships. I was just at a wedding in Miami and like, a lot of these people were like my hospitality friends. Like I would go out with them,
Mhm.
go to the bars and all that stuff. And it's
Mhm.
like I got on with like, when I was there, I got along with a lot of them.
Mhm.
Mhm.
People that like started families and different things like that kind of moved out of that phase of their life. But it's like, my wife is a commercial litigation attorney, like, love her to death. She's an incredible human, but she's also a badass. And she's like really, opened up my eyes to like, if you are focused and you have ambition and you're partnered with the right person, like you can take over the world. But if you're not surrounding yourself with serious people, might take you a lot longer to get there.
Tell everybody, one thing I've learned,
Man,
a great woman can help a good man go a long way.
Yeah.
That driving
yes.
motivator. Shout out to your wife. I've had the pleasure of meeting her. Like I said,
Yeah.
for those that
Met
don't
her
know,
yeah.
I met her and Rich at a mutual friend of ours. He's having this like boot camp thing. We all out there getting our workout on, and I had some time to just kind of pick both of their brains apart. Just talking life, talking a little bit of careers, but more than anything, we just kind of talking life. And she was really
For
nice.
sure.
You know what I'm saying? You could get that, like he said, man. She's a go getter. You got that from her essence just off the first 5 minutes of speaking.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, Rich come along, man. He real chill guy, man. You know what I'm saying? My last
You
question
know,
to
it
you, man. Oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
Well, it's like, I mean, she deals with a lot of adversity too.
Mhm,
Mhm.
She's like a young, attractive female in a male-dominated world. It's like
Mhm.
mhm.
she does it with grace, but it's not easy. I
Yeah.
think I heard, like, Seth Rogen talking about, Catherine O'Hara, how
Mhm.
it's
Mhm,
like you can move with, like, pleasantry and grace and, like, not take away from you know, anybody else's, like, presence or,
mhm.
make somebody feel small,
Right.
but, like, she's a beast, dude. It's crazy. It's it's even crazier because like, I meet the guys that she works with, and it's like, they're all good old boys, It's like she's just
Yeah,
this, like, young female, just, like but super nice and, like, very
yeah.
smart and knows
Yeah.
exactly what she's doing, and very confident too. Her confidence is crazy, but
I look
maybe a
at
little too
Rich
crazy
blushing,
sometimes,
man. You know what I'm saying? That's what we like to see. Love, man. Love is in the
for
air.
sure.
Love.
But
But, yeah,
my
she's an
my
inspiration for sure.
my last question to you, man, and this is your personal opinion. What would you
Yeah,
say as we
yeah,
close out? What would you say makes the actually, I'm gonna ask this way. What mindset makes a real estate or realtor stands out? What is the perfect mindset that you would say, if you have this as a mindset, you're gonna be very successful in this business?
for sure. I think the mindset of being a student of the game,
Mhm.
Mhm,
mindset of, when we were talking about before, like, just being, like, kind to people on your way
Mhm.
up, right? Like, there's a lot of people that, it's like, I watch them, I'm like, "Okay, like, this person, they know what they're doing," right? It's just like
Mhm.
right.
they're on their way up. And then there's also other people that are at the top that, like, have just been kind to me. And so I'm
Right.
like, I can respect that. But I think it is like one of those things where it's like, don't ever take anything for granted. Don't take any opportunity for granted. Be grateful to be alive and have the opportunity that you have, great or, big or small. And when you're given a shot, do your best. Give a fuck.
Right.
Right.
There's,
I like that.
there's a there's some book I read a while ago. It's like something not give a fuck or something. But the whole point of that book is find what to give a fuck about. And
Right.
like whenever I'm going on like a pitch, I'm like, or if I'm like doing a deal, I'm like, I give a fuck.
Mhm.
Right.
Like, give a fuck. Like, it's cool to be laid back and,
Mhm.
Mhm.
go with the flow and Mr. Cool, Joe Cool. But like when Joe Cool gets on the field, it's game time. You know what I
Right.
For
mean?
sure.
Like, it's like you only get one shot. Like, come with your A game. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
whether or not it's a coffee meeting or a pitch or whatever it is, like, come
Podcast
correct.
interview.
That's interview, yeah. So yeah, it's and by the way, like I really genuinely like feel honored to be on any podcast. This is my first one,
Hey,
and
Oh.
first beginning, I
I
appreciate it.
besides our technical difficulty that we had, I
Yeah.
really it's been awesome, man.
No, I appreciate it. And that's what I was gonna get at, man, to just tell you that you're actually our first anybody that deals with anything real estate related. You're the
For
first one to
sure.
come on for us. In a
Oh yeah,
nutshell, major entrepreneur yourself. And so
Mhm.
we definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on. I know the
of
For
course,
schedule is
sure.
always busy, you know what I mean? But it does mean a lot to us.
for sure.
Me,
My
Mike,
pleasure, man.
John. John had a family emergency come up.
Okay,
That's
Mhm.
why he had to get off. But yeah, man, I really, to all the people that's gonna watch this, you really
Mhm.
took us into the mindset of just being a go-getter, being a winner.
For
yeah.
If
sure.
anybody that aspires to get into real estate, feel free to
All
reach
right,
out to my guy. You know what I'm saying? We're
yeah.
talking about one of the best in the business now. If you're looking for a
Yeah.
house in the Dallas area, let me sit up straight
DFW
when I say
proper,
this.
baby.
Yeah, hey, if you're looking for reach out to my guy, man. That is at R Pratt, Pratt, at Christie's Real Estate. Let me make sure I'm ready. Real
LS.
estate, yep, ls.com. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And that is gonna be CHRISTIESREALESTA. So
that's right.
again, you guys, if you're listening to this, you're looking for a home in the Dallas area, reach out to my guy. He gonna get you right. All my athletic friends, all my NFL guys out here in Dallas,
Yeah, for
y'all
sure.
Oh,
listen,
true.
come on. Mike B, who might
I'll wear
live
my
in Dallas soon.
Bottegas.
You know what I mean?
If
But
I
nah,
definitely move out of Dallas, listen, I don't know about the $1,000,000 homes, but I aspire to get there one day.
yeah. We go
100%,
listen.
man.
It's coming. You know what I mean? It's like speaking at I used to always make jokes with me. I used to say speak things into existence as if they are or they were. But that's a real scripture, by the way. I just phrase it in my own words.
Okay.
Mhm.
But definitely, man, speaking
Yo,
is
let's
existence,
let's
Mike.
do let's 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 do part 2, baby. Let's go.
For sure. For
Let's get
sure.
it. That
We
sounds like a
can we can
plan.
definitely set it up. But that would conclude episode number 8 for the Real Understands Everything podcast, or as y'all call it, True Talk. Again, we're extremely grateful to have Rich on. It's been very informative. Learned a lot about just the housing market, the housing business, the mindset that
Mhm.
goes behind being a realtor, and the mindset behind Rich. You know what I'm saying? What makes him what's his why? What makes him go? Or as they like to say, what makes him tick? And
Right.
learn he's a little fashionista, you know, partying with ASAP Rocky and Pharrell, you know what I'm saying? Just a subtle flex. But you know what I'm saying? I appreciate y'all tuning in each and every week. Like we say, we're gonna continue to have real conversations and raw emotions. And that will
Sure.
conclude episode number 8. Peace.
Peace.